serious Redditors who gave up pursuing their dream to settle for a more secure or comfortable life. How did it turn out, and do you regret your decision? I went to school for and worked as a video game developer. I saw the crunch times, the frequent layoffs, and general instability of the industry and decided it wasn't for me after all. Been doing work in various industries trying to find something I want to do for a living. Came to the conclusion that I will never like working. So I'm settled in at an aerospace manufacturing plant that has been in operation since WWII, and I can and probably will spend the rest of my working days here. I've decided that it's better for me to get my life's fulfillment from my hobbies and relationships instead of my work. I started programming at 14 as I wanted to make games. Made a load of them in my spare time. Went to uni to do computer games tech. Switched course in my first week to computer science as I came to the realization that in the games industry, I would get paid less to experience more stress and work more hours, all whilst still creating someone else's vision. I'm 30 now, and I'm a dev team lead doing business software, working 95% remotely in a 37-5-hour work week, and in 8 years I have done no more than about 20 hours of overtime in total. I try and make games in my spare time, but even with the amazing free tools these days, e.g. Unity, VS, Blender, GIMP, I rarely have the energy to do more dev. After doing it as a job, I don't regret changing direction. But if I could make games with the same work-life balance, pay, and benefits as working in software dev, I would. I've been on basically the same life path as you, except I never actually went to college with the idea of becoming a game dev. When I got out of high school, it was my dream job. I never ended up following through on it though. I had more pressing personal stuff to take care of. Fast forward 10 years and I finally decided to go back to school after wasting a few years in retail. In those 10 years, I read so many horror stories about the gaming industry that made me swear off of ever becoming a developer. All of that passion I had for making games has now turned into a passion for programming, and I'm currently working on earning a bachelor's in computer science. I just finished my first year of college with a 4.0. I'm glad that I waited. How was your first year in terms of classes and stuff? I'm nearly in the same boat. Graduated high school in 2014, did a bunch of restaurant jobs for 6 years. Just finished my first year of school and getting ready to switch majors and start classes for a web development and programming major next semester. I was thinking of going into Comp C, but I'm really thrown off by all the math. I'm super bad at it. I passed statistics last semester with a C due to sheer luck. I was thinking that the web/programming major would be a good way for me to take programming courses and get a degree related to them, but trimming all the fat, since most of the courses are different programming languages, and it leaves out all the math I dread so much. But all the Comp C majors from the related subreddit said it's not a good idea, so I'm still a bit unsure of my decision at the moment. My dream was to become a translator for Nintendo, specifically the Zelda franchise. Studied Japanese and lived there for a year, then became a video game translator at a small studio. Afterwards a localization project manager at a bigger Korean company. Worked my way up to maybe one day be hired by Nintendo. Lost more and more passion for games on the way. Heard awful stories about working at Nintendo and slowly realized that this isn't the right job for me after all. Translators are, most of the time, underpaid and the whole thing isn't as romantic as it seems. Decided to do something entirely else. Left the gaming and localization industry, and am now really happy and well paid product manager for an e-commerce company. I will never go back. Knowing Japanese, well, the bit that is left after not using it for years is a good party trick still. So no regrets. Was a fun time, but it had to end. People don't realize that institutions, like corporations, often utilize worker passion as an excuse to mistreat them, pay less, make unsustainable demands. That's why a story like yours just echoes through this whole thread. For example, it's what the world is doing to a whole generation of frontline healthcare workers around. Exactly. Although this is just my experience, I saw especially young people join the gaming industry with that sparkle in their eyes. First job and they made it to work on something they love. Wow. That feeling is normally gone within a year if they don't just follow and accept anything management makes them believe blindly. It was a stepping stone for sure, because you are also not asked to work on many different things depending on the position OFC, but I would not suggest anyone to grow old in that industry. My dream is to have a comfortable and secure life. Still working on it. Yeah, all these comments be like I had some fun years trying to pursue my dream, then it didn't work out, so now I just naturally have some sick ass stable job and am loaded af and have the best life. I don't have dreams. I'd be fine af with the second part, but no clue how I'd ever get that. Fucking a man, I've been scrolling trying to find a normal person for a while. My band didn't work out, so I just got a PhD and bought a few houses. Here you go. I wanted to be a professional musician. I was pretty good for a young guy and went to college to get better. I met a girl. We got married. I had weird outdated beliefs at the time that it was important for a man to provide for his wife so she could stay home, so I quit college and got a regular job. I worked a regular job for 10 years, barely making ends meet, no savings, no cool vacations. Then I got a job teaching music. Maybe my resume wasn't clear enough. Maybe they thought I had finished my degree. Who knows? But I impressed the hell out of the school director on the test run and was hired. I was doing my dream, albeit modified. I taught music for 5 years, but I worked another job, sometimes two, to make the bills. We were financially wrecked, but man was I having fun for 40 of my 70 working hours. When I noticed family life was starting to crumble, I quit and went full time at one of my side hustles. The pay is fair and we're not drowning in financial stress, but still, we can't save, can't afford vacations, can't afford medical insurance. Our cars are 15 years old, and my job is pretty unfulfilling. But hey, at least I'm home more often. The new dream is to live in a van down by the river. It's funny, that was a joke in a Chris Farley sketch on SNL 25 years ago where the character was portrayed as a failure, but now it's the dream for many. Turned out great. Just not right at the moment as I'm still job hunting after having to quit my previous job. Still no regrets though. I went to college to become a 3D animator, something I always dreamed about. I was top of the class, constantly won awards for my work. I honestly thought I was going to make it big. Then the final semester started and all the seniors were required to go to a special hiring event where tons of big names would be. I got my portfolio and resume copies ready to go and spent hours researching the big names and their projects as well as rehearsing lots of practice questions. It was devastating. No one would look twice at my stuff. Introduced myself. Made some awkward small talk as they were so disinterested. Then as I walked away they would immediately put it in the stack with hundreds of other portfolios, and not in the special pile. I switched up my game. I started introducing myself with a quick mention that I had a background in programming. I did, thinking that maybe that would give me an edge. Oh boy, did it work. Suddenly I was getting personal business cards, phone numbers and emails. My resume was put on the special pile. It was at that moment I realized I went into the wrong field. I was just a tiny insignificant drop in a sea of artists, many of whom were much more talented than I could ever be. Finished up my degree and went back to college for a BS in computer science. Got my first job right out of college from an internship I did over the summer. The job itself was heaven, and I really enjoyed it. It also helped that I made bank when I was there. Paid off all my school loans within 3 years and had plenty to invest and put into savings. While it sucks not having anything right now, I'm hoping to find something soon. Side note, the 3D stuff I still do as a hobby, not nearly as good as I once was, but it is still fun and relaxing. I feel like I made a temporary COVID decision. I started working in landscaping and went back to college. It's not exactly a dream, but I was able to pay for school and make money during the pandemic, so I just consider it a temporary lateral move. School isn't really a temporary kind of thing. If you are investing money and time and don't finish, it will be wasted. The deeper you go, the harder it will be to stop, unless you are only going for self-enrichment reasons. I made a solid run at becoming a writer. It was always my dream as I've been an avid reader my whole life and have always had an active imagination. I studied English in university, read everything I could, and spent my 20s living and traveling overseas. I joined writers groups, did an apprenticeship with an established author, and worked my ass off for years, both abroad and when I returned home. I even got a few short stories published, and I was miserable. Writing fiction has to be the worst paying job in the world when you factor in the time you put in. Stephen King references this at the start of On Writing. Writers like King are extreme outliers, and even he had to work a 9 to 5 while writing Carrie. It is extremely hard to grind out a job all day, then come home and try to write all evening. Or get up at 5 AM every day and write before work. Not only is it difficult to conjure up the juice you need to write when you're working around a regular life schedule, but everything else in your life slips. You don't have time to work out. You miss out on spending time with friends and family. Yeah, sitting in your desk or chair every night while your partner is watching TV alone. And if you have kids, good luck. I became overweight, depressed, and miserable. I developed back issues from spending 12 plus hours a day in a chair. I wasn't getting anywhere in life, and while it was nice to get published the odd time, I didn't find the joy in my own writing the way I do in others. So I let it go. Now, I have a great job, nice house, and lots of time to spend with my wife and pursue my hobbies. I fixed my back issues and got in great shape until COVID, and I have grown so much as a person since then. So no regrets. I do think about it from time to time though. I still read a lot and am sure that it will come back sometime. It's not like being an athlete. Nothing to say I can't pick it back up any other time. Edit. Wow. Thanks for all the awesome comments. A lot of people asking me how I fixed my back lol. So here it is. Mine started with soreness and the tingling down my leg. I had a couple bad episodes which I now know was the result of a compressed disc. This would eventually devolve into a full-blown herniated discs of my L4/L5. Seriously, it was awful. One of the worst times of my life. The pain was excruciating and debilitating. I couldn't drive, and I slept on my living room floor for months. Work was awful, even with a stand-up desk, and I had no quality of life. Whether you're trying to heal a disc or prevent it before getting that bad, this is what I recommend. The key is in decompressing and strengthening. You have to focus everything on those two things. Take pressure off your back by losing weight. I used a ketogenic diet. This also helped mitigate inflammation. Get an inversion table. I got a cheap one off Amazon, and with a Prime membership, the shipping was free. I used mine every day. I did decompression therapy with a PT, though once we went too far on the machine and it actually made it far worse for a few weeks. Yoga and other stretching exercises, and work on strengthening. At my worst, I took a reduced schedule from work and went to the YMCA every day. I worked with a trainer to do very basic strengthening poses and worked my way up. I also got in the hot tub and sauna every day. I progressed slowly to doing more body weight, yoga, pilates and low intensity strength training, focusing on the back, butt, gluteus and hamstring chain. Seriously, I totally rebuilt this part of my body, going from mushy soft to hard muscle and buns of steel. I remember vividly my wife giving me a butt tap one day and going, oh, that's when it sunk in how effective it's been at this. Gave it time to heal. Use all the weapons you can, but go slow. Definitely use CBD and really watch your diet. This is huge to help reduce inflammation. It was a lot of hard work, but I did it and avoided surgery. By the time my turn came, I was healed. Thanks for the delay, Canadian healthcare. In all, this was an 8-month process. As for other medical, I was on painkillers at the beginning. I tried to avoid them, but I was in an insane amount of daily pain and eventually gave in. I was very careful and controlled though, and gave it up as soon as my pain started to subside. Obviously you have to be extremely careful with these, or force yourself to avoid them altogether if you can. I also never got the cortisol shot. Being in Canada, the wait times are ridiculous. So by the time it was offered, I didn't need it. But the moral of this story is you can totally fix yourself. Even something as severe as a herniated disc. with hard and meticulous work. You have to be motivated by the desire to not become a lifelong victim to your back pain, as I was. This one's mine too. I guess I kinda misinterpreted my dream. I thought I wanted to be a professional fiction writer, but it turns out one of the more common ways to make a living at it is that when you finally get your first book deal, you'll have a chance to get into the world of writing IP material. Think Star Wars novels, etc., which is apparently much more stable. But that doesn't interest me in the least. First of all, you already have to deal with the incredible luck of getting that first book deal. Then the incredible luck of those first books selling well. Then competing against every other pro writer for the lucrative IP contracts. It's similar with trying to get into TV writing, where it's all these gigantic hurdles that are often some combination of extraordinary chance, knowing the right people, beating out other writers for the opportunity to then work on someone else's creative projects, all with the even rarer chance of your own original work finding its footing lingering in the back of your mind for years. Maybe someday your agent will find the perfect exec to read your script. The difference for me is that I love the actual act of writing so much that I just decided to make it my serious hobby instead and shape my day-to-day life around that. Finding as low stress of a day job as I can, and then dedicating 2 to 3 hours a night, when possible, to working on my projects makes me very happy. Trying to turn it into a grind did not. Same here. Early in high school I wanted to be a poet. When it became clear that wouldn't put food on the table, I wanted to write fiction. By the time I got to college I tried to get even more realistic, and majored in English and journalism. Worked as a newspaper reporter for a decade. Had an absolute blast. Won some awards. But by 30 saw the writing on the wall and wanted to secure a better future. I now work in government communications, have a nice pension, and make a lot more to write a lot less. I'm very happy and wouldn't have changed much. No, I was on the path to becoming a professor, and I don't regret leaving academia at all. The pay is terrible. The requirements to achieve your dream can crush the soul out of you if you're not careful. And the chances of achieving actual job security grow dimmer by the day. There are some things I miss about it, but I really can't regret choosing a good paying, if somewhat more boring, office job that gives me security and disposable income to pursue my own hobbies and travel before the pandemic. Of course. Edit. Wow. Thanks so much for the upvotes and awards. It's been really interesting to read about everyone's different experiences and perspectives. I left after half a PhD in English. I think the moment I checked out was watching my tiny 76-year-old professor totter home from the office at 10 PM. She had probably taken a 16-hour workday. You mean I have to work this hard only to earn the privilege of working that hard? I thought to myself that, and the fact that the work was colonizing every waking hour, and that I was not coping in healthy ways. I still miss lots of things about it. I made some of my very best friends in graduate school, and I felt like I was part of a community. Now, I often feel like I'm wasting my life making someone else money. On the other hand, I've been able to travel all over the world. Thanks to the income I get. I'm married, own my own home, and I just had my first child. So things are very, very good. Maybe one day I'll find work that is fulfilling. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like it did. I'm trying to reply to people, and I appreciate the support a lot of you all have offered. I'm going to quickly address the common questions. I work as a technical writer, which is a career path I can definitely recommend for those who went down the same path I did. Many are asking for friends and relatives studying English, and regardless of whether they pursue the career, studying technical writing will improve concision, audience analysis, and clarity. I cannot recommend it enough. Many ask if a PhD in the humanities is worth it. No one can tell you that, of course. But I'll lay out my thinking, on case it's helpful. I work with some 23-year-olds, and sometimes think, gosh, wouldn't it be great if I had started such a good job so early in life? At that time, I was 27 or so. Upon reflection, I feel just the opposite. I got to study something I really, truly loved for a time. I developed knowledge that is critical to my personality and political perspective. I'm immensely grateful for that. On the other hand, There was a tremendous amount of suffering packed into those years, and I will bear the scars of some of that pain until I die. I'm now something of a hybrid, obviously not quite just a regular guy, on account of my annoying etymological musings and distracted air. These are not traits I'm proud of. To be honest, my wife would say that I have gotten much better over the years. Though, none of that is helpful for whether you should study for a PhD. But that's sort of what I'm going for. Maybe some of that will help some poor academic aspirant think through their decision. There are lots of people asking what my prof was doing / why was she working like that if she has tenure, while she certainly could rest on her laurels. The fact is that earning and maintaining a TT job at a top 20 program requires publication of a book every couple years, as well as an article once or twice a year. Worse, it's a total time sink when you're doing this kind of work. Every moment is an I could be working moment, and if you don't ever find that fulfillment, I think that's okay. My wife and I both work in healthcare. She works with kids and is super passionate about her work. Sometimes I'm envious of her. While I like what I do, hours are good. Helping people is nice. Coworkers are great. I could be doing anything else professionally with similar hours / pay and would probably be just as happy. Point being, I think people put too much pressure on needing to be passionate about what you do professionally. For me, work will always be work, but that work allows me to pursue other things I'm passionate about in my free time. Hobbies, travel, entertainment, etc. Yep, I work mainly to have the money to live the life I want. I like my job, and I have great co-workers, but work is not my passion, and that's okay. On the flip side, I have also worked a job where I hated the company culture and didn't have any real connection with any co-workers. That will drain your soul. Same here. I'm a software engineer and I'm good at my job and enjoy it, but I'm not at all interested in the hobby side of programming. I hated working at a large company with boring people, so I changed jobs. The work is extremely similar, but the people make it enjoyable. I also have even more flexible hours thanks to the pandemic, so I can spend time on the hobby I'm actually passionate about, long distance running / trail running, without affecting my work, which is a nice win / win situation. I just started my career in science, PhD student in applied physics, and I'm slowly realizing I feel the same. I'm truly interested in science. I like most aspects of it, writing papers, presenting results, reading, doing experimental work, and I'm committed to get my PhD. However, I enjoy my hobbies, guitar playing, recording, reading, organizing activities, just as much. I see people in my environment who cross borders, work late and get great results, but I just don't see myself doing that for most of my life. If you enjoy watching these videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. Thanks.